Round 2 is almost underway here at the Battle Hardened in Milwaukee. And we walked the tables, we talked the talk, and we did find some interesting heroes out there that have won their first round. And we've got one of the heroes asked for by the community on our feature match, but I'm gonna hold back the information. We're not gonna quite give it away just yet. But what were you seeing, Steven, as you were looking out around there?
So interestingly enough, I saw a lot of different heroes, and some of which I expected to see, some of which caught me off guard. I will say I saw a Teklevossen. I actually saw a Teklevossen in the wild.
Teklo sighting confirmed.
Incredibly exciting. I think that's really, really interesting to kind of follow along, see how they're doing over the course of the day. Saw a Dash IO towards the top tables. So I know a lot of players are talking about how powerful and, these crazy cards that we might see coming from for Dash IO from the Armory deck soon. But waiting in the wings might not be her style. It might be just time for her to, come out and play already. So she's towards the top already. I saw a good number of Viserais actually scattered around the room, so I'd love to see a Viserai on stream at some point. Maybe we can get one for next round.
We can probably do that. Yeah, we can probably do that.
A good smattering, of course, of the new heroes. We've got some good Florian representation, a couple of Auroras. In fact, a lot of Auroras as I was walking up and down the tables. So, yeah, I've seen some things, and I'm excited to see how it plays out this weekend.
Well, you asked for a Viserai. Should we get one right now?
Okay, I think so.
Let's do it, because we also have an Oscilio for you here on the feature match table. We have got Adam Cook versus Bradley Jmrazik. This is going to be the Oscilio Constella Intelligence hero that we have heard so much about. I know you had that great spoiler video with a young one, Brody Spurlock, talking about the glyph overlay card, I do believe.
Yeah.
I think it was glyph overlay.
It was.
Yeah, glyph overlay. So this is a hero. It's contentious is the wrong word, but people don't get it yet.
I think contentious is a fantastic word, because you talk to some people and they say this is an unplayable hero right now, and then you talk to others and they say, yeah, that hero is very powerful. And right now, I've played more Oscilio than just about any of the other heroes. Period. I've played more Oscilio than any of the other heroes, and I think the hero is fantastic, but he's incredibly complex. He's incredibly difficult to play well, and he is so volatile, not just against disruption, but against just making the wrong choice at the wrong time.
Yeah, sequencing, right?
It's sequencing. It's knowing the ratios of what's in your deck, knowing the instants that you can discard at any random time for Oscilio, having the ability to discard on your opponent's turn and to discard on your turn means that you have so many more opportunities to just do the wrong thing. And sometimes when you're playing Oscilio and learning how the hero functions and on what axis he wants to play, you make the wrong choice and you lose pretty much immediately because of it. And then you go, oh, I guess I won't do that next time. So Oscilio, very complex, very difficult to play, and I'm really excited to see Bradley execute on it here in this round.
On the other side of the table, of course, we have the hero most recently, most well-known for being the face of the quote-unquote purple Discord. But Viserai is looking to change the narrative, right? Looking to actually reestablish himself as a true foot soldier in the metagame. And with all the Runeblade support that came out of this most recent Rosetta set, a fair amount of it was untalented. A fair amount of it was Runeblade. I mean, it's a part of why the limited experience is so good, is because so much of the so much of the cards themselves are untalented, right? So you're able to play within your own lane and be open for longer. But what that meant is that the untalented Runeblades like Viserai really are getting to eat out of the set. Cards like the Cussing, cards like the Deadwood Dirge, Snuff Out, Succumb to Temptation. These are cards that Viserai can use so well. So I will be looking forward to seeing how Adam wants to utilize them to the best of his ability. We need to let Adam cook indeed as he tries to take down the Constella Intelligence. It's round 2 of the Battle Hardened. It's new Rosetta Spice on both sides of the table. Shall we get after it?
Let's do indeed. Now, taking a look at the Arcane Barrier, we've got the Dyadic Carapace in play and Vexing Quillhound, so a total of AB3. And if you're sitting across the table from a Volzar specifically, but in this case, of course, Oscilio with Volzar, you do need to know that AB3 and just a large amount of arcane damage could be coming your way, so AB3 is perhaps the right choice here, starting off by sending the Runic Reaping, I believe. Runic Reckoning, excuse me.
That is going to give the next Runeblade attack action +3, and then the Snuff Out here, of course, is going to create a Rune Chant on the back end thanks to Viserai, so now threatening the discard, but really coming in for 8. The thing about Oscilio, right? A lot of instants in the deck, might not be able to block as well as he'd like to.
Now, this is going to be the interesting back and forth of this game because the Viserai deck that is sort of floating around right now has far more interaction in the form of discard effects. And, of course, Snuff Out being one of those. If you're able to destroy an aura, they discard a card. There is an aura, a very key aura in the hand of Oscilio. Bradley does have one of the most powerful auras at the end, and that is going to be played down. Sigil of Brilliance basically saying on turn 0, I get to play a 5-card hand.
And Bradley, they're discarding an instant to find a card to block with so that that Sigil of Brilliance wouldn't be threatened. Of course, you can respond to the Snuff Out trigger with the Sigil of Brilliance, but still, Bradley able to keep the life total high enough because these wizards, not Verdants, but most of the wizards do start at a lower life total. Oscilio is no exception to that rule. Let's take a look at the equipment suite here.
Yeah, I want to point out something very important is that down here at the very bottom, we have Storm Striders in play. And so that Storm Striders is a massive difference to what is normally played in Oscilio. I say normal, it's a brand new hero, really. But normally we see the Greaves be played, Lightning Greaves, and sort of a combo version of Oscilio. But here, it's just Storm Striders. And I've tried this out myself. Storm Striders, a very powerful tool for any wizard to be able to just win the game on the opponent's turn. But here we start the turn off with a Flash. That's another card that you don't see played too often in certain versions of Oscilio. Flash is going to be able to give go again to the next 0-cost action card. And this does affect spells. So if you play a spell that costs 0 or more, it would get go again.
Glittering Charge here going to be the follow-up, so should amp Volzar for a second time. Already has the go again thanks to the Flash. Volzar should be up to 2 amp for the turn because that is the second lightning card. Looks as though Adam's just going to take this, so from 40 down to 36. Both players here sporting the Marvel versions of the heroes, and if you take a look at Adam's equipment suite, you can see he's got the signed Vexing Quill hand, the cold foils, the EA. Clearly, this is a man who likes his Viserai deck. He's got the other Runeblade shirt on in the Vinset shirt. This is now going to be the Flittering Charge, amping for 3. Now, this one doesn't have go again, but if an instant card is played on the link, it will grab that go again. The question will be, is there a spell to pair with the Volzar to really make this turn as powerful as possible?
And the answer in this case is no, and that is a very important key point. And that could have been a possible tell based on how he was tracking the Volzar amp. He tried, I believe, to dig for a spell, and oftentimes you want to dig for a spell to try and get the value out of Volzar. Otherwise, you're just playing another version of Aurora. But here, a full committal to try and steal that card. Maybe he sees 3 lightning cards on the board and says, okay, I can't deal with something terrifying like amp 3, and so I want to try and get that card out and try to mitigate some of that arcane damage. But instead, it turns out it was just as easy, just going to be a discard there in Arsenal here.
I think Bradley's so happy to see that Face Purgatory be used here. He had 2 different cards that both wanted to be in the arsenal, the Electrify and the Lightning Surge. And both of them are much better when you play them from the arsenal. Lightning Surge gets go again, Electrify draws you a card, and so Bradley there, keeping the non-attack, pitching the Lightning Surge to the graveyard. So if you're Bradley, I think you're just stoked to see the threat of the arcane damage be enough to get that important Face Purgatory off the board. Adam here, of course, did not know it was in the hand, and so the Malefic Incantation going to be the start of the turn for Adam, his first kind of real turn of the game, but it's just going to come in with the Reaping Blade from there.
Yeah, Malefic Incantation, one of those massive gets for Runeblade. It's so good in all of these Runeblade heroes. Just being able to create this persistent board state of Rune Chants is just one of the best cards coming out of this set for Runeblades. Such a glue card.
1 arcane damage from the Rune Chant, 3 from the Reaping Blade.
Sorry, I will not prevent the Rune Chant. Okay.
Yeah, looking at how Oscilio functions and on what axis he likes to play, you oftentimes think, okay, he's just sort of a hair on fire type deck. You just never block, you send all this crazy damage. But because you have a deck with a lot of instants and non-blocks, you really do need to pick your moments and have effects like this that allow you to electromagnetic somersault. But unfortunately, you cannot play that on etchings because it is not an attack action card. Nevertheless, you want to find those moments where you can actually block and maintain your life total to try have big plays.
Bradley here, deep breath onto his next turn. Tunic heads up to 2.
Supposed to cover the art.
Now, playing out that block on etchings with etchings of Arcana is a big moment because we don't actually have an arcane spell to take advantage of Volzar again this turn. Thinking that etchings was going to maybe bounce back to hand means that you have to kind of make a Hail Mary play of playing the Electrify from Arsenal and drawing into one. Instead, now we're just going to have to send some physical damage and maybe try to draw off Channel Lightning. We do know it's in the in the pitch zone, so we can keep around the Channel Lightning Valley this turn.
This attack comes in for 7 and also threatens the Electrify on hit as well, so threatening a break point, maybe asking for something like that Dyadic Carapace unless there is a reduced to Rune Chant or similar style effect in the hand for Adam Cook if he wants to stop not only the damage from the Enlightened Strike, but the Electrify as well, and that is going to buy the Dyadic Carapace. That's probably the only real block we're going to see until much later in this game, because that Dyadic Carapace, of course, Temper 2, but Arcane Barrier 2 as well. So once that's blocked with for a second time, there will be, Bradley's eyes might get quite large as he sees the potential for that arcane damage to be relatively unimpeded from that point forward. Snuff out the follow-up from Adam. This one is going to create a Rune Chant thanks to the Malefic Incantation.
Yep.
And thus, of course, threaten that on-hit once again. And this one's a little more threatening as it's not turn 0.
Exactly. This is going to push 5 damage. You do also have to worry about what could be lurking in the arsenal and aura was created. So there are some options here, and 2 floating does mean that this turn could not be just stopping here. It could continue as well. And again, looking at the hand of Oscilio, you do run into some issues with blocking. You've got 1, 2, maybe 3. I can't see that final card in the back there, but at least 2 cards, High Voltage and Sigil of Lightning, do not block.
Okay. Take 5.
Take 5 is the call from Bradley. Let's see if Adam wants to resolve the trigger, if Viserai is going to destroy the Rune Chant to the Snuff Out effect. The answer is correct. We're going to discard that Flittering Charge, which looks to have been that final card that we could not see in the hand there. So for Viserai here, right? 5 damage across. Lost the Rune Chant, but took a whole card out of the hand after damage resolved.
Tunic up.
Tunic, 2, 3 for Oscilio here.
We're going to see the play of the Meld card here. Most likely this Comet Storm's going to come down pitching, I would imagine, the Sigil of Lightning. No, he's thinking about maybe pitching the High Voltage. Maybe he's going to play it. Yeah, I was going to say, playing High Voltage gives you Amp 2, essentially, thanks to Volzar plus its own effect. So that plus the Comet Storm, it means that you have the capability of just sending a huge, just salvo of arcane damage that is really hard to come over the top of. But the Channel Lightning Valley will stick around as well, thanks to the fact that you're going to pitch the other Lightning card in Sigil of Lightning. So this draws you a card, replaces itself in the arsenal, and sends a large point of arcane damage across. You are going to have to pay for Comet Storm, which is 2, and you're going to have to pay for Volzar as well.
We're going to activate Volzar.
That is true. I was going to say, you can utilize the Tunic to get 4 total resources to be able to do both halves of Comet Storm and Shock, but to use Volzar does cost a resource, so it would actually take 5 total resources to use all sides. So as you pointed out,
now, do keep in mind that because this is a Meld card and he's only playing the Wizard action side, it's not a Lightning instant. So if you're asking yourself the question of why did he do it in this order, why did he Volzar and then play it, why didn't he get the value, you can't get any extra value from Volzar if you're not using the Shock side. So it is still just going to push 8 damage across in Arcane. He's going to draw. He's going to decide on the Arsenal. It's a fine Arsenal target.
That's going to be me.
that's the end of the turn there. Flash headed to the Arsenal. So 8 damage across with that whole hand. Checking the Channel Lightning Flow's flow counter. So the Sigil of Lightning does allow it to stick around. So Flash plus an Arcane spell plus some Channel Lightning Valley goodness on the next turn. Oscilio is set up 30 to 28. So not too much damage on either side of the table. But Adam here had no chance to do anything on that turn if he didn't want to prevent just 3 of that 8 damage. So Succumb to Temptation is going to be the start of the turn. As you can see on the screen here, if you dealt arcane damage this turn, you may play it as though it were an instant, which is also a way to get an action point because it itself has go again. And then the next time a Runeblade attack action card hits, we get to look at the hand and discard a card that you choose. But it's going to be a yellow Rune Rager Swarm to start things off.
What an interesting choice. Yellow Rune Rager Swarm. I know players are playing the red Rune Rager Swarm because it is a 3 go again, solid red. But the yellow, just a guaranteed go again. Now, you do have to do it in this order, which is why you might have been asking the question. You create a Rune Chant on the back end because you've played the second Runeblade card thanks to Viserai's effect. So, of course, the Succumb to Temptation does have to come first if you don't have something to play from hand before that. And that's the only way this Rune Rager Swarm gets go again. So maybe the hand is a little clunky if you don't play it in this order.
I'm going to block 3.
Blocking 3 with the Eclectic Magnetism there. No reactions, but the Electromagnetic Somersault is going to now grab an attack action back. So there is another 3 block that is able to be presented on this turn. Bulls technically amping for 1.
There's the second Rune Rager Swarm. This one is coming for 3 because this is the red that will send the Rune Chants alongside of it, the ones that were made thanks to the effects of the Aura and the Succumb to Temptation.
The attack has to hit. Okay.
Both players trying to remember the resolution, and the trigger from Succumb to Temptation does dictate that the attack has to hit.
Yeah, Bradley probably wondering, like, do I have to worry about these Rune Chants for a discard effect? The answer is no. These Rune Chants are just damage. And it was interesting, right? Because the Succumb to Temptation, you could potentially play it at instant speed if Bradley takes any arcane damage on the turn. But so the kind of choice there for Adam was really, do I want 1 Rune Chant and not worry about the Succumb to Temptation being an instant speed thing, or to play it and then, grab that Rune Chant, just get that extra damage as well. That's going to buy the 3 block here of the Etchings of Arcana, because Succumb to Temptation does affect the whole turn.
Yeah, yellow Etchings of Arcana being the card that is blocked with. Yellow sometimes played. I played the yellow for a good chunk of time, but here's a Deadwood Dirge. This is going to make 3 Rune Chants on the back and create another Rune Chant after the fact, thanks to Viserai. That will close the combat chain, but it means that there's a large chunk of Rune Chants. Now, we could just see that be sat on, but no, not if you have this card. Amplify the Arc Knight, a massive swing. What a turn.
Great follow-up here. Deadwood Dirge acting basically as Revel in Runeblood at home. Another way to just get 4 Rune Chants right away. This one, however, is going to power up the Amplify the Arc Knight, right? Because it's normally a 3 cost, but it costs 1 less to play for each Rune Chant. So this means now that Bradley's going to be able to AB3 and then put another 3 block in front of it, and now 3 damage coming over the top. So Adam, with this turn, has taken every single card out of Oscilio's hand.
Now, keep in mind that Succumb to Temptation, I believe that trigger was still available. I think it says until the end of the turn, if something hits, you have to discard. So expertly navigating that turn to where you're not losing a card and you're getting max value is Bradley, but definitely having to expend all resources on defense there means that this Channel Lightning value is likely to lose value.
This will die.
It will die indeed.
Will die. So for Adam, not only did you take all the cards in that hand, but you do not have to worry about that Channel Lightning Valley on this next turn cycle.
Yep.
But with 4 cards in hand just off the top of the deck, Adam was not able to set up any kind of arsenal. Does have a Rune Chant, does have a Malefic. It's going to be a Sonata here. Let's see if we're going to pitch into it to make it more than just 3 cards off the top.
Looks like he's going to consider. He does have a blue in hand, maybe multiple.
Couple blues in hand.
Out, yeah.
Yeah, the new Machinations of Dominion, Sigil of Arknight. Looks like we are going to go ahead and pitch the Machinations. So that means that we're going to be looking at 4 cards here.
Okay, so we're going to reveal 4 cards.
Taking a look, let's see what the revelation is.
For non-attacks and attacks. We've gotten 2 attacks so far. There's a 3rd attack. Do we find a non-attack? The answer is no.
And
4 attacks off the top of the deck means Sonata Arcanix is basically go again, turn on Viserai hero ability, and that is it.
The volatility. And keep in mind, you expended not the card from hand, but also the card pitched. So this turn might be the window that Bradley, after taking an entire turn to play defensively, is looking for. To keep cards in hand, hope that you don't have any 1-card disruption, and start to get the ball rolling.
Brutal here for our Viserai player, but such is the way of the Rune Blade. You run all of these non-attacks and these attacks in an attempt to go ahead and find all the perfect ratios. Make sure you're seeing them back to back to back. But for every Sonata Arcanix that wins a game and gets you the perfect Swarming Gloom Bell you need, some Sonata Arcanix loses its wings. If a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, does Sonata Arcanix reveal you the cards you want to see?
It's a great question. Adam Cook was cooking, but left it on for a little too long because he did not find what he needed. It burned. And just going to take the damage, it looks like.
Tunic is going to float to at least prevent the 1 Rune Chant. Let's see. For the 3 damage, it's going to be no blocks, it looks like. So yeah, Bradley just going to take 3, down to 21 on the turn. So down 7 life. Adam looks like he's going to keep that final card for the Arsenal.
2 arcane and then 3 physical.
after the 1 is thrown into the Reaping Blade. So 2 Arcane, 3 Physicals. A nice follow-up here from Adam, keeping the pressure on, even though that Sonata Arcanix was, abject disaster. Does get to keep a Sigil of the Arknight.
Yep, I will take
Yeah, it's a great arsenal target. I mean, Sigil of the Arknight is a card that a lot of players probably not looking to just throw into the deck, but when you think about it, it's half a rune chant off of Viserai's effect. It has its own effect, which is a pretty solid effect as well, and so it really is a fine turn starter and a nice way to enable a 5-card hand, particularly if you clunk a little bit, which sometimes Rune Blades can do. But this is the moment that Bradley's been waiting for. A reprieve from the disruption of cards like Snuff Out, which we've seen 2 of, and Succumb to Temptation as well. And now you have your 5-card hand. Can you capitalize? Starting off with a Flash.
Then I'm going to play.
Flash into Gone in a Flash. So both of these cards flashing onto the combat chain. There's one thing the Oscilio deck means to have. It is a bunch of instants, and that means the Gone in a Flash, now that it has Go Again, thanks to the just pure Flash, if it comes back to the hand, it can be deployed again on the combat chain. The question is, can it get Go Again to power up the Volzar even further? And we've yet to see Bradley finish these turns off with an arcane spell. Is this going to be the moment?
Now keep in mind, playing Eclectic Magnetism, and he did have the ability to bounce that back, but of course no Go Again after that meant that you're basically just ending the turn with another Gone in the Flash or arsenaling it. Nevertheless here, this means that you have 2 resources floating so that you can play out a spell. So is this the moment, like you said, that we actually get value off of Volzar?
Reactions?
I think so, because on this chain link, we can play a non-attack as an instant. It means 1 resource into Volzar to amp for a total of 3.
Yes.
And then the one final, most likely going into, I believe, we might even see a special card in the hand that you know something about. Let's see what the follow-up is.
It's a yellow glyph overlay. A fantastic card spoiled by Brody Spurlock. Spoiled this card. This will come for just the base value. It does not have X equals 1 or anything more. It's just X equals 0, but that does mean it's coming for 3. And I believe that if Volzar was activated, this should go for a total of 6. Oh, no, it will go for 2 because it is the yellow. So 2 plus the 3 from the lightning cards means that it's going to send for 5. The surge effect, key and very important, will gain you a life, even if you don't shuffle any sigils. So you will gain a life from this effect, which is quite nice.
Yeah, challenging here for Bradley on Oscilio. Hasn't been able to find the sigils, right? Hasn't been able to activate Volzar for free, bounce the sigils back with some of these styles of effect. So playing a little bit hamstrung as we're seeing the sigils, either be played like that first Sigil of Brilliance or in the pitch zone, but they're at their best. He even has the Flash of Brilliance there, right? On the top of his equipment down there that allows him to recur some of those pieces.
You do keep in mind that the Flash of Brilliance does allow you to play that combo out, but we're not playing a Greaves deck, so you're not playing towards that combo of Gone in a Flash, but this is a card you are very much playing towards a combo state for, and that is going to be a big turn. Look, even both players kind of recognizing how big this could get. We're going to start with Mordred Tide, and we're going to follow it up by making multiple rune chants thanks to the Sigil of the Arknight.
Woo! Deadwood Dirge. This is about as good as it can get. Revel in Runeblood needs you to play attack and non-attack. Deadwood Dirge does not. However,
Sigil of the Arknight doesn't reveal off the top, so you don't get to put it into your hand. You are destroying that, so you are making the rune chants. Doing your best Florian impersonation is Viserai on Deadwood Dirge.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Yes.
So we're up to...
let's hear how many rune chants we are at the end of this. Looks like 8 because we've played a couple non-attacks that are all getting pumped up by 1 thanks to the Mordred Tide, and the Deadwood Dirge makes 3, but then it becomes 4, and then the Viserai makes 1, but then it becomes 2. Now Malefic Incantation makes 2. Viserai doing his best Florian impersonation here. I guess Florian is doing the Mordred Tide impersonation.
There it is.
Truly.
Yeah, that's got to be it. Succumb to Temptation, I believe, is the last card in hand. So the question is, do you send Reaping Blade and 10 rune chants, or do you wait and try another 5-card hand? You know your opponent's on a 4-card hand, so you very well could just say, I'm just going to park it, and I'm going to sit back, and I'm going to take what you send me, and then I'm going to close this game out. I wonder if that's and he is. He's going to arsenal it and pass.
Make sure, look at that, the Oasis Respite on the top of the deck. That is a way to prevent some arcane damage, but it doesn't represent any pressure. You'd have to pitch a card into the Oasis. Of course, the Dyadic Carapace, they're not going to allow for 3 energy counters to be removed to pay into that Oasis Respite. That's probably a sideboard piece Adam brought in for this matchup. Would have loved to see an attack there on the top as the Deadwood Dirge synergizes so nicely with that sigil of the Arknight.
Yeah, looking at the composition of his hand, he's talking through it right now. You needed an attack to come off the top, so 2 points of variance now. Unfortunately, not falling the way of Adam Cook. He saw 4 attack actions with Sonata. He shuffled all 4 of them, and now he saw a bunch of non-attacks in the same hand, so a little bit uncomfortable.
A lot of deck building tension in both of these heroes. Oscilio needs instants and non-attacks and attacks and lightning cards. Viserai needs attacks and non-attacks. And now with these disruptive pieces, earlier in this game you said, right, reprieve from the disruption, which is not something we're used to hearing from Viserai, right? No. Face Purgatory, such a difference maker. Succumb to Temptation, Snuff Out. These are ways that Viserai are able to still present an enormous amount of damage with these rune chants and the Mortar Tides, but now there's a different axis this deck gets to play on, and maybe that'll be the difference maker moving into this new meta.
Yeah, it really encourages you now to interact with the Viserai deck, whereas before it was just numbers. It's just damage. It's just rune chants. You're not going to pitch to it. It's just, physical damage. You're not going to block it. I'm just going to race you. Now you're saying, if you don't interact with me, you're losing cards anyway. So this Viserai deck has gained points in the meta thanks to this. Pitching away the Sigil of Conductivity. You mentioned he's found them, but he's not putting them on the board, and instead he's just using them for pitch fodder, and in this case, using them to pay for another Comet Storm, threatening the card draw.
So this is 5, pumped up to 6, thanks to the Volzar, the Lightning Rod. Tunic only on 2, card in hand. This will be a perfect use of the Oasis Respite. At lower life, he does still gain the life. The Reaping Blade will not stop that here. Adam will go to 15 and then take 2 down to 13 after preventing 4 of that 6 damage.
I'll be preventing 2.
Okay.
2 float.
Yes.
Always going to AB2 as well on top of this to try and cover it all up. That leaves an arsenal. Does also give you the ability to channel on that Channel Lightning Valley thanks to the pitch for Sigil of Conductivity. So another 5-card hand, but I mean, you're looking at 12 rune chants on the side of the Viserai, and you're going to have a lot of stuff coming your way, especially with those looming large on the board.
Storm Striders, part of how Bradley looks to potentially win this game. Let's see if a Sonata for 0 is any better. No, still going to pitch the blue into it, so we're looking for 4 cards again. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Meet and Greet is 1. Malefic is the non-attack, so we're getting one of these cards into the hand no matter what. Amplify the Arknight is going to be a perfect grab, and then to become the Arknight. So Adam is able to grab both of these attack actions into his hand and 2 arcane damage from the Sonata Arcanix.
And keep in mind as well, Amplify the Arknight is going to be free. Meet and Greet likely going to have go again, so you could maybe sequence this in a very comfortable way to send a mass amount of damage on this turn. But you're already sending some points with Sonata, like you mentioned. So this is the turn that Adam is trying to close the game out. Can the disruptive, prone Oscilio find his way through this matchup? In this very turn, can he stop the damage, the onslaught?
One Sonata Arcanix did not help Adam Cook whatsoever, but perhaps the Cook has made his way back to the kitchen and looks to make a final meal here. 12 rune chants, 12 arcane damage, 6 from the Amplify the Arknight. And of course, if that Succumb to Temptation is played at instant speed, if any of this arcane damage goes through, that is an action point generated that can be put into either the Meet and Greet or the Reaping Blade with that one that's floating.
Oh, and look at this. He's got an all-red hand. He's going to have to take rune chants, starting with that.
Okay, taking 12?
Yeah.
Taking 12 here, going down from 16 to 4 after taking all of that damage.
Okay, now you got 6 coming in.
6 physical damage. He already queued up a physical block, but those cards did look like 2 blocks.
We'll get there.
Players here fighting not only each other, but the life counters as well. Let's see what the blocks are, and I believe that's Succumb to Temptation, even if this is fully blocked out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the block, but the Succumb is going to be able to be played at instant speed, gaining an action point because it has go again, which means this one floating can be either Reaping Blade or the
meet and greet that's in the hand, and a rune chant is created thanks to the Succumb to Temptation.
Incredibly
Okay.
massive turn.
That's good.
Yeah.
Covered up on the block here, so he's managed to answer the first question of the turn.
Action point, I'm going to play
But meet and greet coming across with those rune chants.
3 and 4 physical.
Does Bradley have enough prevention to stop this here? Needs to block
Use my
at least
non-floating.
4 of it,
1 rune chance.
because he is at 4.
The 3 rune chants likely going to come across. We know the last card, I believe, is red. I think we saw it. Yeah, it is. It indeed a lightning surge in the hand. It's a 2 block as well. So there's 3 arcane on the board. No tunic resource up. No ability to really play around or just storm striders to disrupt. None of that's on the table. At this point, you're just doing the math to see if you're not dead.
And I think he might be dead. 2 block in hand, 1 block on the tunic. That blocks 3 on the meet and greet. You take 1 point of damage. You take 3 points of rune chant. Bradley, he's got math problems on his shirt. Clearly no stranger to doing the uncomfortable problems to find the keys to victory. He might find himself 1-1 at the end of this turn. Let's see if there is something that he can find. He's the wizard player.
3 of this.
Saying, I think I can only block 3 of this.
Yeah.
Block 2. Block 1.
Here. And then.
Take 1. Take 3.
And that'll be it.
Extend the fist bump. Adam Cook moves on to 2-0. You can see both players sharing a smile. An affable game between both of these fine gentlemen. But it can only be one to move on to 2-0, and it's our Viserai player, Adam Cook. 2-0 at the end of the round.
Credit to both players. They both had a blast playing that game. I think you can watch
Yeah, you
that.
could tell the energy was good there, right?
It
You
was
could tell the energy was good.
And it's a great way to feature Viserai and Oscilio at the same time. Both players able to do some really exciting, interesting things. And Viserai, that amount of disruption, that amount of discard, and chaining it turn after turn means that the deck has some real legs. If you're looking at rune blades to play, you might first go, okay, well, I'm just going to play Aurora. It feels like the most, pure numbers deck. Like just throw the damage on the board. But now you have the ability with Viserai to maybe encourage more interaction, maybe pull more cards from the hand and play a little bit of a more back and forth game. So showing it there was Cook himself.
Let's go ahead and take a quick 3-minute break before we move on into our backup match. So don't go anywhere. We've got the backup match here from round 2 of the Battle Hardened Milwaukee, brought to you by MinMax Games, coming up right after this.